Step inside the hidden catacombs of Cobra-La with me in this week's special mission spotlight of Pythona. Display ideas, comparisons, and a full unique review to help you decide if this mesmerizing assassin deserves a spot in your Cobra-La collection. Only at Heroic Nonsense. Let's go. From the shadows of Cobra-La emerges one of the most mysterious and seductive villains in the entire G.I. Joe universe, Pythona. Before this highly anticipated figure gets a general release, join me as we examine her every eerie detail from her intricate sculpting and haunting colors to her many nightmarish accessories brought to life from the movie. I'll even showcase some really unique display ideas that will highlight how well she fits in with the G.I. Joe lore and the rest of the Classified line. While I may not have been that excited to get her at the start, I now have to say that I'm a true believer, especially after seeing her next to Serpentor and Nemesis Immortal, and knowing what lies next for Cobra-La. The wait is almost over, but the story has just begun. So like I alluded to in the intro of the video, this figure was a lukewarm interest for me, since on one hand, I did love her appearance in the movie, while on the other, I wasn't sure that I really wanted to go too deep into the Cobra-La mythos as a collector. Also, as some of you may have already known from previous reviews, I'm not too hot on body horror, and after seeing her close-ups, wasn't sure I'd be into her slightly Hellraiser-looking bodysuit design. In the end though, I caved, figuring that she'd at least look good next to Nemesis Immortal and the other Cobra-La denizens if we ultimately got them. Once I unboxed her and started the process of reviewing her, I was ensnared. This figure is quite the piece in hand and is exquisitely detailed, something you have to see to believe. Plus, she has a ton of accessories that were taken right out of the movie, so you can really recreate all those childhood memories in intricate detail. And with that, let's get into all the details of what this very cool figure has to offer. Starting with her overall design, which really captures the essence of her first appearance from the 80s and brings it to life with some beautiful detailing, especially with respect to the layered molding and coloring of her bodysuit, her porcelain crafted face, and the cloth-based cloak, which is surprisingly versatile. I also love that they focused on every bit of her design, including her face tattoo, those long painted nails, and her dagger-like earrings. And even the way the bodysuit covers most of her body in an almost symbiote-looking way all the way down to her feet. I like the techno-organic look in person way better than I thought I would based off of the preview shots. She comes with two heads, this one being my favorite of the two, and it really does capture the beauty of her almost alien features, with her snake-like eyes being the highlight. I find her profile to be quite good, highlighted by those iconic face markings and pointed ears, and of course her equally iconic long ponytail. As for the second face she comes with, it's a lot more vampiric looking, with her mouth open as she hisses through her fangs. You can even see what looks like to be veins underneath her eyes, which is way more detail than I would have expected. For me, it's a bit too off-putting, and I much prefer the more tranquil version, which I feel better represents her character and appearance throughout most of the movie. But still, nice to have if you want a more aggressive look for her, which in the end showcases her truly evil nature. There are two removable ponytails that she comes with, this being the longer of the two. This image also nicely highlights how the cloak realistically fits over her body, something not always easy to achieve with fabric. Which is even more impressive, seeing that the neck and back portion can extend and envelop most of her head, perfectly recreating her unforgettable first appearance in the '87 movie. I actually don't know how they managed to make this work as well as it does, including that part of her cloak which hangs off the back of the hood. And look at that snake-like pattern embossed into the cloth, really quite amazing. For a female figure with smaller feet, she bounces extremely well, which allows you to create some great poses like this one of her walking out of the swamp. Or this one, which highlights her martial arts prowess while holding her two disc-based weapons. For even more martial arts goodness, she can be placed with one leg up in a more attacking-like pose, great for posing her with Jinx if you wanted to recreate that last scene of them fighting. As for accessories, she comes with a ton, each of which we'll explore in detail next. But before I do, can you guys guess which scene from the movie each accessory was used in? They actually all have a movie source. We'll start with one of my favorites, which is of that sucker-like monster that can easily attach to the masks or faces of Pythona's enemies by using two of the three tentacles which are on joints to wrap around the head. Recognize this one? I'll give you a hint. It's supposed to represent acidic-like vapors that emanated from the masks of the Crimson Guards when she placed her hands on their helmets. Or how about this one? Again with the poor Crimson Guards, the victims of her alien-esque cruelty. This time entrapping them in mummy-like ribbons shooting from her Cobra-La bioengineered weapon. We're not even close to being done yet, since Pythona also used this tentacled crab-like creature to burn and maim the faces of those Cobra mechanics who were simply lost in their work repairing Cobra vehicles until she appeared out of nowhere. The figure also comes with an extra hand, which represents the scene where she cut through the metal shielding to Serpentor's throne room using some type of acid that dripped from her fingertips. Another one of my favorite scenes featuring Pythona was actually the first, the one with her using this four-headed eel, which ate its way through the outer perimeter fence of the Terradrome, leaving her an entry point into the base. It can also wrap around one of her arms. As for the scene where she makes it to Serpentor's throne room and shows him the broadcast energy transmitter, well, we also get that clam-like contraption which was able to show a virtual image of the BET in its mouth. And finally, the gem that was so enticing and large that it answered all of Zartan's questions and convinced him to join forces with Cobra-La in order to rescue Serpentor from the Joes. My verdict? I didn't expect Pythona to be such a versatile and fun figure. I suspected she would look good as part of the Cobra-La releases, but really didn't expect her to fit in this perfectly. I can only imagine now how good all the Cobra-La figures will look together, with the next one to be a surefire winner, the Cobra-La Royal Guard. As Pythona is a truly unique figure, and one of the first to be released from the Cobra-La sub-series, we don't have too many figures to compare her up against. However, I don't think there's a better candidate to place her with than none other than Nemesis Immortal. I don't think it's too difficult to see how good these two look next to each other, and I gotta give a quick shout out to my good buddy Zazel from the awesome Zazel's Clubhouse, who was able to snag me one all the way from Australia. I'll post a link to his channel here and below. Please go check it out, especially if you're a fan of G.I. Joe and wrestling, and most importantly, Sergeant Slaughter. The two non-Cobra-La figures I immediately thought of pairing her with was Dr. Mindbender, since he created Serpentor and has a similar eerie quality to him, and Crystal Ball, who similarly evokes vampiric sensibilities. Not canon or anything, but don't these two fit well together, fangs and all? I could see Crystal Ball really enjoying his time at Cobra-La if he were ever invited. And finally, a shot of the two Cobra-La citizens with the Emperor of Cobra himself, Serpentor. I'll show some display days with all of them in the next section, but this gives you a taste of how they scale and look next to each other. Perfect in my opinion. My favorite displays have always been ones that incorporate classified vehicles, so I really wanted to come up with a great idea for this section using some of ours. While I could have gone with a Joe vehicle, I just felt using the Cobra Stinger was a better fit, inspired by the beginning of the '87 movie where Pythona took on the Cobra forces to get to Serpentor. In this continuity, both Pythona and Nemesis Enforcer are attacking a Stinger, with Nemesis Enforcer lifting the Stinger off of the ground, while Pythona uses her acidic fingertips to burn her way through the Stinger's windshield. I really like this one, emulating the scene where Cobra Commander, having found what he thought to be a safe haven in Cobra-La, is placed on trial for his crimes against its people. Since Globulus and the Royal Guard haven't been released yet, I'm using Serpentor and the Crimson Guards as stand-ins, which works quite nicely as well, surrounded by the rest of the Cobra Command that made it to Cobra-La. A smaller but equally cool display idea uses the Crimson Guards and Dr. Mindbender along with Nemesis and Pythona, this one also inspired by the Cobra-La lore. I really like the interplay between Cobra proper and Cobra-La, with Serpentor in the center tying the two together. This idea is right up there with my first, also using the Stinger. However, in this scene, Nemesis Immortal is ripping open the top of the Stinger while Pythona leaps onto the hood and throws one of those bio-organic facehuggers at one of the troopers in the Stinger. Looking at it now, this may actually be my favorite of the set. I think this perfectly encapsulates the characters and just looks so good as a display. I also love the way the Cobra Trooper in the driver's seat is looking up in horror as he sees the roof being ripped apart, replaced by the hulking demonic outline of Nemesis Enforcer. This display also nicely showcases each of Pythona's and Nemesis Enforcer's capabilities and strengths. And finally, a recreation from the movie where Zarana has just completed her mission infiltrating the G.I. Joe base, and the Dreadnoks are meeting up with Pythona guarded by her Enforcer in the swamp. I would have liked to have included Xandar here, but we still have a few Dreadnoks open, Xandar included. I just like this image of these two together so much that I had to end on it. What do you guys think of these two together so far, and how do you think the Cobra-La lineup is shaping up? Let the community know in the comments. I was actually surprised at how light and small the box was when I first got it, especially given the price. I just thought it'd be, bigger. However, it's really the foil type covering that makes this packaging special in the end, and as far as I know, is a first for Classified. So in that sense, it's really unique and a beautiful collector's item. The whole thing is wrapped in this foil, which makes it shimmer under the light in different colors as you move it back and forth. Also, this is a great rendering of Pythona, captures all their qualities that we've been talking about throughout the spotlight really well. The back really looks so good in this foil, and I really like both the display setting and drawn elements they use to recreate the look and feel of Cobra-La. Even the side that is typically the most boring on these packages looks great, and cool way to write the series number as well. So that brings us to the end of this week's G.I. Joe Classified Spotlight of Pythona, the haunting and seductive emissary of Cobra-La. Hope you enjoyed this take on this very unique and highly detailed figure, and it's inspired you to go out and create your own storylines and displays. See you all next time, and remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Transform!